Welcome to the Women's Circle interviews. Our circle interviews are designed to model possibility, increase creativity, tap into intuition, and create a network of global connection to light up the world. It's only when you realize what's possible for you that you're able to step into who you are meant to be and build the business and life of your dreams on your own terms. You are truly magnificent and designed to live a life worthy of you. It's never too late to start. Are you ready? Let's dive right in. Today, my guest is Dhira Brown from Play It Out Loud. Dhira is a certified Hendricks Big Leap coach and facilitator. She's been practicing traditional theater improv since 2015 when she graduated from Seattle's Unexpected Production School of Improv. She went on to create Play It Out Loud to inspire and empower people to playfully leap from feeling stuck to creating new possibilities in their lives, communities, and the world. And through the power of saying yes and improvising with life, Dhira invites people to transmute problems into playful explorations and new possibilities. Welcome, Dhira.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. You do incredible work combining improv, play, and personal transformation, which is an area that I'm super passionate about as well, which is the reason I wanted to interview you.
Yeah, I'm so excited to connect with you.
Yeah,
I'm impressed by what you do, and what you're putting out into the world is like, yeah, right on.
Yes. Let's cheer each other on, which is exactly the point of these interviews, is really to model to people what is possible and what is going on in the world and just shed light on it, because it's so important to include playfulness in our lives, right?
Yes.
So that would be leading me into my question is, why do you think improv is such a perfect tool for transformation?
Well, the foundation of improv, the yes and move of improv, I think just demonstrates perfectly what is necessary for transformation, which to me starts with acceptance and really being with what is up, what is, whether it's my inner experience, what's happening in life, stuff happens, am I able to be with that stuff? And then the and for me is that's where the play comes in. That's where the creativity or the new choices or the inspiration is. And so for me, it's really acceptance and play is what yes and is. And that's what improvising is for me in its sort of basic stripped down form. And I'm a huge fan of Viola Spolin, who started sort of the improv movement. She wrote Improvisation for the Theater, and that's how Second City and everything kind of spawned after that. And she says the heart of improvisation is transformation.
Yes.
So you can't improvise with something without it transforming.
Right.
So I couldn't improvise. I couldn't say yes and to my experience without something happening. And I don't know necessarily what's going to happen, but something's going to happen. And that is really exciting for me, particularly because I love to be surprised. I've learned this about myself recently, like, I really love to be surprised. So I'm having a really good time with my own personal transformation if I'm improvising and allowing myself to be surprised by my new choices, surprised by what I manifest or choose next.
Yeah. And I find like improv is just this big life, is improv. Like,
yeah,
we are on a stage all the time, but most people seem to be begrudging their experience. But when you introduce improv, it's like this, you're giving yourself permission to play all of a sudden. It's like it adds this new dimension to what we're already doing.
Yes, I agree. It adds a new filter or lens to what's happening in the moment. It's like, I can use this I can play with this. I can use this as, I like to say, fuel for my creativity. It's not something that's, imposition. It's an invitation.
Yeah. And then I noticed a lot of your work in improv, what I've seen so far, you incorporate a lot of feeling work too. Where do you think, like, what's the relationship between play and feelings?
I play, so I'm discovering this as I go along. For me, when I first started kind of in with improv and personal growth, I kind of started from the idea like, oh, I want to get somewhere, I want to manifest something. And what I learned along the way is that I was making my feelings wrong. I was making them wrong, or I was blaming myself for having certain feelings, negative feelings. And when I add that, again, that lens of improv and play, that just dissolves that layer of I shouldn't be having these feelings, or here we go again, and I've already done this. It's that all just kind of dissolves when I add the layer of play. So I think for me, play and again, that yes and that acceptance really welcomes all. It welcomes all. And so any feeling is welcome. Any feeling is a gateway to something new or creativity or just being.
Yeah. And like one of the rules of improv is to be present and accept all offers. So
Yeah.
whenever you find yourself kind of, oh, this shouldn't have happened, or oh, I should do this, you're not present to what's happening. So in a way, like it really helps you be present to what's happening and let go of the stuff that happened in the past or the stuff you think shouldn't be. In a way, you're more in touch with reality, because I tend to come across, they think of improv as, like theater, right?
Yeah.
And it's make believe, but in a way, it's so much more real to me because you're really in the moment of what is happening, as opposed to most people who are, myself included, I'm not discounting myself, who lives in the past most of their lives, right? Making up stories of what didn't happen but could have happened. So in a way, improv keeps you a lot more engaged in your life in a playful way.
Yeah, I would say, most people, myself included, either in the past or in the future. I spend a lot of time in the future, pre-planning or, worrying about something. And yeah, improv, really the skills of improv really invite us to let that go and be right there in the moment. And I wanted to pick up on something you said a couple times, which is like, if improv isn't it isn't fake, or just like, what do we want to say? It's not just make believe, because for the difference there is like, okay, yes, we make up all the content. So like maybe what we say, our relationships, all that is like made up, but all the subtext, all the context, everything that happens within that is all really real. Like, my feelings, like if I'm really engaged in the moment, like my feelings are real. My connection with my partner is really real. My responses are authentic, and that's where the juice comes in. And I think that's why I love it as a laboratory, because it can kind of lower the stakes, right? In certain situations where you might be trying to learn a new skill or play with something new. And it's not your real life necessarily, but it's gonna bring up some of the real responses or reactions that I have. So
yeah, well, to me, I tend to think, as much as we think of it as make believe, others, not us, it's actually more real to me, because the interactions that happen are much more spontaneous in the moment, allowing for like the flow of whatever it is that you're thinking of, and less censorship. Whereas life has all this censorship and pre-thinking, and is this right? And it's not as authentic. So in a way, I tend to think life is make believe and improv is very real.
I would love to live in a world where it was kind of always that kind of connection and real responses like that. Yeah,
exactly. Me too. That's what we're striving for here.
Yeah.
Spread the word. Just be yourself. It's just one big improv play, and let's go. Like, just let go of all the make-believe stuff that happens outside.
Yeah. And improv really invites us to, like you said, pay attention to what's happening in the moment. And like, that is such a great skill. Like, to be able to notice, body language of another person that you're with, to notice, down to like how they're breathing and the inflection of their, like, the body intelligence or body wisdom is something that I'm really, really into. And I find that with improv, a lot of the games or just, scene work, really stretches people to tune into that stuff. And then once they start noticing that stuff, you can't help but now start noticing, like, what's the subtext under this? And, what are they actually communicating? What are they feeling, or what am I feeling underneath what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, like, I've been following your work for a little while, and I really admire that, what you're indicating now, that presence and like really being in your body and noticing what is happening and being playful with it and working with that. Where do you think that present comes from for you?
Did you say present?
Presence.
Presence. I was like, oh, it is kind of a gift.
It is a gift.
Well, I learned really how to tune into my body wisdom, body intelligence from Katie Hendricks. So when I did their 2-year long sort of graduate type program, leadership and transformation program, that 2-year deep dive was essential for me to learn how to, it's body sensing, but then it's also like being able to have a communication with what I'm noticing back and forth, like whether it's my movements, my tone of voice or my rhythm of voice, and knowing that their messages, at first, when I first started learning that, it's like, I know you're trying to communicate something to me, but I don't know what it is. So what are you? Stop. I wanted to understand everything right away. Mm-hmm. And so over time, I've learned to kind of let go. And that's where the play comes in, where it's like, I don't understand what my body's trying to communicate. We store feelings and memories and all kinds of stuff, like all throughout our body. And when I say body, I'm including head, body too. Like, it's all included. My thoughts. I've learned now to be able to play with my thoughts, and I've loosened the grip of having to know so that I can go in. Improv has helped me, right? Because once I get more and more comfortable with the unknown, now I can go in and just be like, well, I don't know why I'm repeating this statement over and over again, but I'm just going to yes and that and play with it and see what happens. And I get to learn a lot more about myself.
Yeah. And speaking of yes and, you wrote this awesome guide, 5 ways you can yes and yourself. Do you want to tell us more about the importance of yes and, like both in improv and in life? Because it's super important in life too.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that I've, so over time, I've really broken down like the way that I can say yes and to my thoughts, feelings, and sensations. So it's and in that guide, it illustrates those 5 ways that I can do that. And they're mostly, like I said, they're whole body, using body intelligence ways. So I'm not necessarily one, and even in my like straight up theater improv, I love to talk, but once you get me on stage, I'm less of a talker and more of like an emoter and a mover. And so with these yes and moves, each one, as I say, first invites us to really be with our inner experience, really be with our thoughts, sensations, and feelings. And here's the thing with yes and, that I think a lot of people who think that it's like we're just making stuff up don't quite get, is the and part is such a really small step. It's like just the next littlest step. It's not a giant leap. And so with each of the moves that I outline in there, it's the smallest step. So it's like, I notice I have a tightness in my belly. And the next smallest thing that I could do without saying, no, I don't want that, go away, is to actually make that bigger, is to explore that and heighten it to make it more. And that's like the smallest little play move, but it can have such a big impact.
Yeah.
And I think
true.
that's, improv is always doing that. It's always, even if they don't explicitly say it in the class, it's like they want you to go with, they want you to go more in the direction that the scene is already going, right?
And you mentioned that you sense something bigger within you trying to find a voice. If you could describe that something bigger in one sentence or like something brief, what would it be? Like what comes up for you?
I'm here to share the joy of all of our feelings and delight in the playful expression of those feelings into the world.
Nice. And then just to continue this playful line, if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
So I always say teleportation. Because like right now I would just be like teleport right to you and we'd have this interview in person. So and that kind of came true here a little bit with the pandemic and how much now I can just like zoom right into people's spaces. I want to cut out any kind of travel and just be able to go all over the world and play with everybody in person.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But it's true that COVID did, I find for me, my circle, it's just opened up all the borders and really drew people in. So
Totally.
There's blessings in it too. And why is play so important?
Play includes. So, it doesn't exclude. It just really welcomes and includes everything. And so, no matter how you play, whether you like to play like we do, like improv or, performance or expression in that way, no matter what you do, if you're playing, you're including yourself. You're including what's happening in the moment. You're including your creativity. And so I just think we need more of that in the world, more inclusion, more welcoming, and bringing people together.
Wow. Yeah, I've never heard it in that term that it includes. That's super powerful. And if you could summarize improv in one feeling word, what would it be?
One.
Include already, but feeling.
Creativity. Is that a feeling?
I'm not sure, but let's go with it. In improv, it would be yes, and.
Yes, and. Joy.
Joy. Nice. So you said that you spend most of your time in the future. So where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Ooh, where do I see myself in 10 years? This is a good place to spend in the future. Good way to hang out there. 10 years. I see myself, the first thing that came up was having written a book, perhaps called How to Yes and Yourself. And sharing that more broadly with folks, whether it's speaking, but then leading a larger play shops, and just riding the wave of this movement, hopefully, that is happening here, which is including our feelings in a playful way.
Nice. And do you think it's important for people to visualize the future? Like, do you find you live in the future because it happens by default, or is it intentional for you?
I think it's intentional, and I honestly, I don't practice as much really farther out in the future, which would be something that would be fun to do more of. I tend to do like little chunks out into the future. Maybe that's what my capacity is right now. So it'd be fun to grow my capacity for going further out. Um, yeah, I think it is important. And I think it's important to have fun with it, right? So if you're having fun with it, then do it.
Yeah. Since we talked about playing with feelings, can you give us like a brief idea or example of how to play with feelings? If
Sure.
something comes up, like somebody experiences anxiety or some
Yeah.
unwanted feeling, like how would you get playful with that?
Yeah. Well, I have feelings right now, like most people probably do at all times. And so, like right now, like I can just notice like what's happening in my body. And the probably the easiest way to do that is to just kind of notice my posture. And so, like I feel my hands here, kind of here in my lap and grasped together. So I'm a little bit tense. And as I just automatically, because I'm so used to heightening that, making that bigger, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. It's like I have to hold myself back to talk to you. I'm just so excited. And, it's ridiculous. And the more I'm willing to go all the way with that, the more I can like let it just kind of, transform into something else, some new choice. And I get to reveal, I get to be real with you and let myself be seen, which is, oh my gosh, that just eases my anxiety immediately. In fact, the first time I started taking improv, it was this drop-in improv class. And, they often in improv, they're teaching you, yes, and the other person. You want to give all your attention to the other person. And I have no beef with that. That's great. And if I'm super anxious or withdrawn, and I really have a hard time shifting out of myself, what I found that it was easier for me to go in first and then reveal something that was true, something that was happening. And even if I just did that just a little bit, so if I just noticed my hands here and just did that a little bit, and my partner might notice that and be like, oh, okay, now I know how she's feeling. She's given me something. She's given me an offer. And then I'm like, okay, I've revealed, they've seen, and now I can relax. Now all of a sudden I feel more at ease, and then I can shift my attention to my partner. So, so I had to do some micro yes anding myself before I was really able to loosen up and, give my full attention. And that's shifted over time, but I think it's helpful in the beginning.
And I like you just said, which got my brain fired up. Like the yes and is not just like a new offer, but opportunity for a new direction. To like just from what you just were saying, like it's a new choice when you allow that.
Yeah, tell me more about the difference there that you mean, the new offer versus a new choice.
So for me, like yes and my brain or me, whatever it is, has always associated with the and is offering something new. But now when you were talking, it wasn't just offering something new, it was like opportunity even for new for choice. I guess choice was the big aha right there. It was like it's choice. It wasn't just
Yeah.
yes and I'm adding, like yeah, I accept and I add. There was like this all of a sudden expansion in my brain. It's like it's
Yeah.
also choice.
Yeah, it creates space, right? It creates space for possibility.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm getting goosebumps hearing you say that back. It's like, um, instead of just my automatic choice or like my maybe
Yeah.
limited, like coming from my head, if I'm really present and just allowing that space of yes and, now it's like, oh, there's a new choice. And it might not even be mine. It might come through my partner or somebody,
Yeah.
I have a relationship with, or the world, might offer that up.
Yeah, that's what I felt like, because I mean the concept of yes and I've played with a lot, but just the way that you expressed it now, it was just this expansion I felt, because it wasn't just you're adding into this scene or whatever is happening. It was really possibility, like you just said, and just choice. It's not just that you're adding, it's just you can choose now. Like,
yes,
it was just expansive. That's what I felt like. The feeling I received was like, wow, I've expanded. It's not just, I don't know. I mean, it's difficult to explain what I mean, but it's not just yes and, but it's like yes and world of possibility.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and I think that's what comes in part with the micro play moves, like the micro yes and versus, I'm all one for like, playing out the future and, basically, saying, oh, this is what I want and playing with all the possibilities. But then I'm bringing that sometimes from a top down or a head centric viewpoint where it's like, well, this is what I know, that these are the possibilities that I know. And so I'm going to play with those. And this other way is like expanding, like you said, into unknown possibilities.
Yeah, that's amazing. So how do you, if you met someone or you're having a conversation with someone and they've never been to improv before, and maybe even the concept scares them a little bit because they think they have to be on stage, how would you describe improv to somebody that has never really looked into it and doesn't know that it's also like a tool for transformation and just play?
Good question. I would say that for a beginner, for sure, that, improv is learning how to connect with other people, with yourself, and be present in a way that invites playfulness. Like for me, it's like once I invite folks into being present and invite folks into connecting with, if there's other people there, right, which usually there is if it's a group or an improv class, into connecting with other folks, the play is just going to happen. It's not necessarily something that you have to be like, okay, we're going to play now. This is a game, and we're, there are games and we do that. But, whenever I feel connected, like just us talking, like I'm here present with you, we're connected, play is just happening. We're not like, we don't have a set game.
And just for people listening in to this interview, if they wanted to connect with you, is there like somewhere they should go or that you recommend that to find out more about your work and what you're doing or anything you're working on right now?
Yeah, they can go to my website, which is playitoutloud.com. And I'm also building a community on Facebook. So if they're on Facebook, I know not everybody is, but if you are, I also have a group called Play It Out Loud. And I do live videos in there. So it's kind of a good way to get a little taste of like my style, just like appreciate this interview. It's great for folks to kind of see because, one thing I really love is for people to start really valuing play in the world. Mm-hmm. And there are so many great folks that lead, play shops and classes. And, I want those people to really be appreciated for what they're bringing into the world, that the opportunity to connect with folks. So, so, you can top into my Facebook group and you can kind of get a feel for like what I'm up to and kind of surf around and find the play leader. If you're looking for more play in your life, surf around and find the one that really resonates with you.
Absolutely. And is there one last piece of advice if somebody was new to improv, new to that idea to incorporate play in their lives, what would you suggest?
I would say everything in your life is fuel for play. So no matter how you show up, whether it be to an improv class or a workshop or in your day-to-day life, that's okay. That's all available for playing with. And yeah, being with that and noticing where the space is.
Yeah. I would add, just trust whatever inclination. Like if you feel like checking it out, just trust that feeling. Check it out.
Yeah, trust that feeling. Trust that feeling.
That's what happened for me. Like, in truth, it was 20 years ago, but I was like not doing any theater work or anything like that. And for whatever reason, my mind went like, I need to add play in my life, and improv popped up, and it was like, and I signed up. Like, I went to a theater and I signed up for like a class and never looked back. Like, it was awesome, but it was just trusting that feeling. I need play in my life.
Yeah.
And that's where it led me. So
yeah. I trying different things, and like, improv is hot right now. It is.
it is.
Yeah. And, I think, what I was saying is that, like, they don't have to show up and be somebody else. Like, that's the nice thing about improv is, like, it's not, I mean, sure, you eventually maybe you'll perform, but even when you're performing, if you're really comfortable in improv, it's not about showing up as somebody else. But you can try a class and you can just be yourself. You can bring whatever you're feeling to the class, and that can all be part of whatever you explore in that class.
Yeah. I find that you can be yourself 100%, but also you can be whoever you want to be. Like, it's a safe place to test that out.
Isn't that great? That's yes and right there. It's like, I can be myself and I can be whoever I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's how I want to live my life, is like, and that's kind of what led me here, is like, how do I accept what I'm experiencing right now and accept all that I want to be, all that I want to create in the world? How do I do that without then being like, well, no, I shouldn't feel this way? And that's where improv got me. It's like, oh, this is how.
Exactly. It's, to me, again, that's a wonderful thing, that you can be however you want, and you can test out, I want to be more of this, and you just test it out in that class. You're more of whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's fine. That's you being you.
Yep.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And it's all accepted, which is another amazing thing of improv. There's no judgment, and it's pure acceptance. Thank you so much, Dhira, for joining me today and doing this interview. It was really great connecting with you.
Thank you for having me. I love what you're doing, and I love that you're also supporting women and bringing folks together through play. It's just, yes, and more of that.
And thank you so much for sharing your gift.
Dhira invites you to transform your experience of life by celebrating what is and engaging with the possibilities that exist. I invite you to check out her guide, 5 Ways You Can Yes and Yourself, as well as other great workshops she's hosting at playitoutloud.com. If you haven't already, be sure to join our women's circle, Awakken Feminine, to reclaim your authentic voice through play. We meet to create connection, elevate, and celebrate each other through games and exercises geared to tap into our intuition and give voice to our longings and desires. If you have a gift you want to share with the world, I encourage you to schedule an interview with me so I can help you spread your unique message and perspective. You don't need any superpowers or be well on your way. You just need to have an idea, a vision, or a direction that you think will inspire others. And if no one told you today, I want you to know that you're amazing. Continue to live with passion, purpose, and presence. The world needs to see your light shine brightly as an example to others of what is possible for them also.